If you or your boss are tracking employees' time online, you might have this problem. Ahoy legend, I'm Travis Thomas and I'm back today with another episode of Unpopular Leadership. We've just started rolling out recently and it's gotten some great traction. We're helping leaders and people who work in companies to understand what are some of the things happening in workplaces that really we all kind of secretly hate or we know is a problem, but no one really wants to talk about. Today we are talking about a really interesting one in this kind of COVID pandemic-y world, which is not new anymore, but for some reason as humans, we still haven't figured out 2 years in how to deal with this. And that is tracking people's time online. You ever worked for one of those people, or are you one of those people where you go, the shift time is 8:30 and they should be online from 8:30 to 4:30 and I should be able at any moment to ping them or send them a message or pick up the phone and call them and they should be at their desk working. Is that right? No. The problem, and the unpopular opinion I have, is that this has a few problems and a few challenges which speak to the leader themselves and the culture of the organization, not so much the employee's performance. Now, there's a few factors that I've seen that affect why people think that someone should be persistently available from 8:30 to 4:30 or 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever the shift is. And those are things like fear.
My anxiety has kept me up for over 50 hours.
I'm afraid that this person isn't working very hard, which we'll talk about in a second, why that might be the case. Ego, I believe this person needs to show up at this time and that's what I pay them for. Or overdeveloped sense of justice.
No thinking, just stupid.
Everyone here needs to do what they commit to doing, and if they don't do that, it's an injustice against the system. Okay, those are all great and sound nice, but they're not healthy.
Are you serious?
If you are the leader or you work for a leader who's really like, we must be at your desk from 8:30 to 4:30, that's bullshit. Why is that bullshit? Let's wind back the clock. Everyone who was sat at home has been drawn right back to the office from 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, where most of people didn't work remotely. Let's look at what happened in the modern workplace. So just imagine this for a moment with me. A couple of things I can guarantee you would happen. Sure as shit, most people were not sat at their desk from 8:30 to 4:30. Some might wander in at 8:35, or they'd come in at 8:30, but they'd go for morning coffee with their mates or with coworkers, or they'd lounge around for 20 minutes. No one cared. Now you might say, well, yes, this is a chance to correct that. But is it? Or is it that actually what we should give a shit about instead is around people's outcomes against predefined measures? As a leader, even with my own team, yes, I like for people to philosophically work around about the number of hours that I've given them, but I don't track that. I never say to my team, hey, you were 8:01. No, instead, what I do is I go, all right, what are the goals this week? What are the goals this month? And what are the goals this quarter? And did you progress against those goals? If not, what happened? If yes, it did happen, well, awesome. That's all I give a shit about. Why? Because I know that we went through the right recruitment process and we've hired people who can at least do the things that we position them to do. That's the fear side. So if we start with that fear side is, well, if I'm afraid that they're not, well, what if they're, I'm concerned that, no. What are you afraid of? The chances are you're afraid that you've lost some control. You feel that because you can't see the person, because you don't know that the person's in the office, because you're not watching that person, they're not within my control. That's okay. As the leader, you don't need to see the person all the time to know that they're doing a good job. Instead, what you need to see is performance against predetermined objectives. That's what I want to see. That's the measure in every organization. Now, yes, if there's things like call centers or customer service desks,
Hi, may I take your order?
of course we want the people to be around, but we're not talking about that, right? We're not talking about something where you can see them. We're talking about these deployed scenarios where people are deployed remotely or they're sat at home working from home and we can't see them as a leader. What about the control side and that ego side? Well, for some people, there's this really old school mindset, which is that you get paid per hour to do a job, you need to do the job. There's a few problems with that. For most roles, once you get past a very kind of intro or admin-y type level, you move from hourly to salary. What does that mean? Well, there's an estimated or rough amount of hours you're meant to work. But at the end of the day, what your job description, your roles and goals define is far more important than did you work 37 or 38 or 41 or 43 hours this week. Doesn't matter. Now, I'm not talking about fair works, but I'm talking about the complication of did you get to the outcome? If not, your antiquated notion of, oh, well, people should work the time they're paid for. Yes, in theory that would be nice, but actually I don't give a shit. If you can do it in 4 hours instead of 6, that's great. Yeah, let's do some more stuff if you're around, great. But I'm not gonna penalize you for getting done earlier and being really efficient at your job. Actually, I'll probably be looking at how can we get better projects for you.
Yeah, boy.
So that's what I want to say today. It's not a super strong thing, but I'm gonna give you a couple of tips if you're one of those people who struggles with this idea, or if you work for a boss who's struggling with the, well, everybody needs to be online from 8:30 to 4:30. If I call you, you better answer. Few tips. First, look at what needs to be delivered, whether that's for you or for your employee or to your boss. Look at what do you need to achieve and be really clear up front that, hey, this is the stuff we're going to achieve. This is what matters here. If the time varies, does it really matter? No. Cool. Tick. Then you might say to your boss, hey, you remember when we were in the office, we used to like go for coffees and we'd go for a walk, or we would take time to make a personal call or whatever. Some of those things are still gonna happen when I'm at home. That's fairly normal. I don't want you to be worried, but I also want you to know that like sometimes when you call, I'm probably not gonna pick up the phone the first time because maybe I'm in the toilet or whatever.
Stop pooping.
We don't want people to think that you're gonna be sat around just doing robotic work for 8 hours a day. So tip 2 is to go, hey, you know what? From time to time, I might not be at my desk, but hey, in an 8-hour shift, that's pretty normal, isn't it? That's fine. And 3 is, if you really need me, call me or tell me you need me to stay or give me that project thing. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. Don't worry that I think they need to be there, but I can't see them. Now I'm concerned about it. Because if you tell the person, or if you're the leader and you tell your team, hey, I just want to know that you're working on this stuff, that's all I care about, a lot of that fear disappears. The ego disappears, the need for justice disappears. So this is an unpopular topic. Like I said, these are some tips that you can deal with it. I get that there's this need for people to feel like, hey, you should be sat at your desk. It doesn't really matter. If you achieve the objective, that's really all we're looking for. And if you can get a bunch of people on your team working for you achieving objectives, or if you can show your boss that you're achieving the objectives or even exceeding those within whatever time it takes you, that should be the measure of success. And that's what I believe we need to shift people's minds to. Let's not beat them with required hours. Cool, so that's it for today. If you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button below. Follow us for more content. You can check us out on all the socials depending on where you're watching this. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Unpopular Leadership series. Keep kicking ass, and I'll see you soon.